Tired of the polished noise of watered-down opinions? We're cutting through the fake, skipping the fluff, and bringing you raw, unscripted truth. Real talk. No filter. Right here on the Savaged Unfiltered Show with Michael Gardner.
Alrighty, guys. Welcome to today's program, guys. It's been a hot minute since I've been on the airwaves. Decided to take a week off, guys, due to some of the line of work I basically am affiliated with Newsbreak Network, big Newsbreak news broadcasts up there up north, and then they have some sister properties of stations down here in Atlanta, Georgia. So I had to attend to that. As well as other projects as well too. So busy man, but the show must go on. So I want to say thank you for your patience of not hearing or seeing me on the podcast platforms over the last week. But I'm glad to be back. Guys, this show being brought to you by My Pillow. That's right, guys. Back in 2009, Mike Lindell had a vision of creating a pillow concept to not only have you sleep in comfort, but eliminate the backaches, right? I know you guys are like probably saying the same thing. Like, wow, he read my mind. You're getting tired of just like your standard pillow that you might buy from Walmart or even the Amazon buys or Timo or whatever. Guys, throw that stuff out the window. Head over to My Pillow. Okay. And grab yourself the most comfortable pillow that you will ever sleep on. Okay. Don't trust my word. Trust Mike Lindell's word. Okay. Because, not only is it used to basically give you comfort, but it also gives you shapeable support, right? Shapeable support. You won't find that on a standard Target or Walmart pillow you pick up for like what, $10? I mean, yeah, these pillows are a little expensive, but guess what? Did you ever hear the concept? It's what money buys. You get what you buy, right? Spend a little extra, guys, and sleep in comfort. Sleep in comfort. Guys, today's guest we're going to be bringing on by the name of Gaylen Wilson, a heart transplant survivor, 20 years of basically battling alcoholism. Okay. And I mean, just to name a few, I mean, this guy has basically seen it all, dealt with it all, and experienced everything that life can throw at him. After a failure in the farm industry, a collapsed stockbroker career, okay? And just to name a few, right? Disruption after 9/11. I mean, wow. If anything else can be thrown at this guy, I'd like to know, because it looks like he's been through a lot. But without further ado, I want to bring on Mr. Wilson. Gaylen, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So before we start off with some of what I just labeled here to my audience, let's start off with the beginning, I believe. In the beginning, it looked like you were, obviously, I mean, and it's no embarrassment, folks. People battle this all the time. But I do want to give you props and kudos for coming over that. 20 years, that's a long time of alcoholism, Gaylen.
Yeah.
How did you overcome that, sir? I'd like to know that.
Well, I think we need to back up just a little bit and tell you how I got there.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. Go ahead. Let's go to the original story there. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay. So you mentioned the farm bankruptcy. Well, I was in my 20s. I farmed from about 23 to 32. I was a farmer, and I got married at 20. Had 4 kids by the time I was 26. I was very driven. At one point, about 28, I was farming the dryland farm and an irrigated farm, and had a business sharpening implements for farmers and a roofing business. And taking 17 credit hours at our community college after I had the 4 kids. So I
Wow.
was a little insanely driven. And so,
I can see that. Yeah.
yeah, so 2 of my last 3 years were drought years where I just didn't get a crop. And so the first one came and that set me back on my heels. The next year we had a crop, so that kind of kept me alive. But then the third year, the crop failure happened. And I kind of internalized that as my fault, even though it was the weather. But that driven personality made it my fault. And I didn't have any tools in my toolbox, as it were, to really deal with it. And so I just stuffed it like the good old Colorado cowboy. And so I went on to the stockbroker career, and I walked in one Monday morning. I was doing really well at it because the New Yorkers seemed to love my laid back Colorado attitude and accent. And I walked into work one Monday morning at about 7 o'clock in the morning, and they announced that the dental HMO that I'd been selling to all of my clients had been lying on their financials and filed Chapter 7, and so it was just gone. And
Oh my
so
God.
none of my clients wanted to talk to me. I had $3,000 of my mother's money in it. She wasn't too happy with me. And so I can name that day as the day I crawled inside of a vodka bottle for 10 years.
I was going
And
to say, if I may, sir, this is
Mhm.
what basically drove you to, uh, uh, at that point, with all due respect, a full blown alcoholic. I mean, through
Right,
frustration of the crops and the farming.
right,
Um,
right. And
and
I had no emotional tools to deal with it.
Yeah, and not for nothing. I mean, it would drive any normal man at that point, folks, in any industry through frustration. Maybe, and I'm just making assumptions. I'm not saying that, it happened to you, but through other, industries to kind of set an example of the tone. Um, Maybe the financial bracket wasn't there in the beginning. And it's hard to get that launch, especially, believe you me. I mean, when I
Mhm,
first got into production, I was like, whoa, come on, it's not going the way I want it to go. And you have
mhm.
to build at it. So tell us a little bit, like, when you're getting to the point where you basically went into your bubble, more or less. I forgot how you phrased it, but you went into your bubble. You basically, were you giving up on life at that point? Is that the
No, I still had 4 kids to support, and I was a very high functioning alcoholic for several years.
Mm.
I would just basically come home at night, drink until I passed out, wake up in the morning, take a couple more drinks to gird my loins, and go back at it again. And
Mm.
and so, uh, but the alcohol, you just get worse and worse as you go on. So towards the end of the 90s, I was getting to the point where I was losing jobs, and
It was
it
taking
was
over your life, more or less, it seems. Yeah.
right. And fortunately, one of the jobs that I was uh, in the late 90s had a good healthcare plan, and so I was able to get 6 weeks of rehab and not lose my job. So that was a
Well,
good one.
that's a good
And
thing. Yeah. I mean, it was helping in the
yeah,
beginning, but,
right.
um,
And so basically, but that gave me some tools to help. And
okay.
but I was going to Alcoholics Anonymous, and it didn't really click with me because from my standpoint, I know it helps millions of men, but from my standpoint, these guys were white knuckling their sobriety. I mean, when you can count to the day that it's been 10,347 days since I got sober,
Yeah.
you're obsessing a bit. And so the final straw with me with Alcoholics Anonymous is there was a Army veteran in a wheelchair that had been sober 21 years, and I was
Oh,
actually
wow.
going to ask him to be my sponsor. And so I walk
Huh.
in one Monday night to a meeting and find out that he had fallen off the wagon over the weekend and drank himself to death.
This is
Died of
your
alcohol.
sponsor?
that I was going to ask him to be my sponsor. Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't go to that aspect, because that's not a good positive influence on you, Gaylen. I
No,
mean,
no,
Jesus.
it wasn't.
Wow.
But I kind of landed on my feet with a
Yeah.
book called Rational Recovery. And I
Okay.
call it the thinking man's way of getting sober.
Sure.
Because what rational recovery taught me is that alcohol had went into my primal brain and made itself an instinct that was just as strong as the food or need for water or need for sex. And in fact, I think stronger, because it overruled all those other things if if you needed alcohol. And so when you're
Yeah.
trying to get sober, your primal brain goes, dude, you're gonna die. Because that's what it does. It throws you into fight or flight mode, as if you're in survival mode, that you got to go get that alcohol. Well, once I understood that, it made it easier for me to use my logical brain to say, no, you're safe. We're not going to die if I don't get that alcohol. And so that let me get to the point where I was staying sober for like 6 months at a time, and maybe having a weekend binge occasionally. So in January 2001, I got a job as a traveling computer consultant. And of course, we all making more money than I'd ever made in my life. But we remember what happened in September that year. Those planes flew into the building, and that whole consulting industry went down in ashes with those buildings.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little later on, because I did notice that, you know, in your profile there, as I was reading up on you a little bit, you did touch on a little bit of 9/11. So I want to get the disruption of how that led to, because there is somewhat of a negative scale, I believe, folks, but we're going to get into that a little later in the interview. But let's focus on, you're getting into this one part here with, you know, you're making, you know, a good set of money for yourself. Now, usually the way when that happens, folks, is when you come in, okay, again, I'm just going off of statistics. Everyone's different, including Gaylen here. When people usually go from a rock bottom scenario, you know, of what happened with, you know, the farming and crops, to his story, to now going into something entirely different, coming back into the world more or less, making a good salary for himself, that usually indicates, hey, I'm doing good. So let's pick up that bottle again. Was that the case at all with you?
No,
Or?
it really wasn't. Yeah, of course, I was still having occasional binges, so I guess yes, it did.
Okay.
but for the most
The
part,
reason why I said that, I'm sorry to interrupt again. The reason why I said that is basically you're doing well for yourself, so you're starting to feel good about yourself, because there is different scales of alcoholism, folks. There is. I've come from a family of alcoholism, and there's different levels of it. You can have a negative effect on your life, and you can have a positive effect. Was that leading towards? It sounds like it was leading to the positive effect on your life with the money scenario. That's what I'm getting into.
Right. It was. It was. And so I got laid off from that by December of 2001, and I couldn't get a decent job because of how much money I'd been making. And so I ended up going to work for Walmart as a cashier, because nobody would hire me for a halfway decent job because of the money I'd been making. And so it was during that time that my first marriage was finally disintegrating, to the point that we ended up divorcing. You know, between the repeated disasters and the alcoholism, and my ex-wife was a saint. I have nothing bad to say about that woman. She probably put up with my BS a lot longer than what she really should have. And I know I'm kind of a rarity that doesn't have anything bad to say about his ex, but so anyway, so I ended up meeting Heather in the fall of 2002. my current wife. We've been
This is your wife you're talking about, right?
yeah, my wife I've got now.
Okay.
We're coming up on 24 years since we met. Uh,
Oh, wow.
and so I had actually been doing some studying on tantric sex uh, in between the marriages, and Heather was actually the first girl I dated after after my marriage failed. So I hit the jackpot right off the bat. Uh, and and so one of the tenets of tantric sex is eye gazing, and eye gazing just creates an incredible bond between lovers, and when it's done during lovemaking. And so we started off our relationship doing that, and it basically was we never left the romance phase for 12 years. They tease that alcoholics often switch their addictions. Well, when I just celebrated 20 years sobriety in April, and my 20th actual wedding anniversary was in April. So I switched.
Oh, congratulations, by the way.
Well,
I mean, wow, many blessings your way, sir. I mean, that's.
Yeah, I have just been so blessed in my life. That's why you're not talking to a bitter old man. As I see the blessings I've had, even though I've been through hell.
After everything you've been with, I mean, been through, excuse me, like with the, I mean, guys, this guy's been through alcoholism. He's been through, business failure. He's been through, I mean, we're going to get into the 9/11 scenario. I mean, what else has life thrown at you? Besides all that, I mean, I'm sure there's more.
Well, yeah, there was, when I got together with Heather, we moved back down to our little hometown. I was in Denver with my ex, and I moved back to our hometown because I still owned a house down there. And so when I got there, I transferred with Walmart, so I had a job when I hit the ground. And I put a little ad in the paper for computer repair in our little town of 7,500. And within 6 months, the computer repair was making more than the Walmart was. And so I was able to quit and go do that for full time. So Heather and I have actually together 24/7, 365 since 2004. You've got to really like your wife, not just love her, to be with her all the time like that. Because I've been pretty much self-employed since. and
That's
so
amazing.
Go ahead.
No. I'm just mind blown of all this. I mean, you're married now, folks. We're gonna get into the marriage here, okay? But before we because I gotta get a break here. But I'm really baffled to learn like how your wife's approach was with all this, because sometimes it could put a damper on a marriage or a relationship. Guys, stick around. We're gonna be right back after these short words. Oh boy, it's getting interesting. I can tell you that. Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the show. You know, we have an interesting gentleman here on the show by the name of Gaylen Wilson. Again, folks, we're getting into some really interesting points here, regarding, his wife now, and also going into this next line of work with careers and this and that. We talked about, some failures, with his farming career, and we've touched on a little bit of the alcoholism and everything else. Now, Gaylen, I do want to talk about this woman now that you've been involved with. Now, you said about what, 20 years, if I had correct?
24,
over
24 years in September since we met.
Wow. My question for you, excuse me. All right. My question for you is, what does she think about all of this? The timeline, sir. I mean, I'm really baffled to understand this, because usually that's when women will say, all right, I've had enough of this, and they just walk away.
Well,
how did she stay strong with you all over these years?
Well, again, during that first 12 years of our marriage, we stayed bonded. We created an incredible bond during that 12 years.
Okay.
And in January of 2014, 12 years into the marriage, I caught a virus that gave me congestive heart failure. And so it attacked my heart, and basically the poor woman had to watch me dying in front of her eyes for the next 3.5 years.
I'm
It
so
just,
sorry, Gaylen.
yeah,
That's
yeah, it was rough, and especially for a type A personality that's usually the fixer and the doer. It was really rough having a heart that wouldn't let you fix or do anything. And but during that time, that's a time when a lot of relationships will crumble, and either the patient uh, withdraws into themselves and pushes their caregiver away, or the caregiver just gets so exhausted that they say, I can't do this anymore, I'm out. That never happened with us, because we had learned to connect, and even sex became impossible the last year and a half of the heart failure. But we never lost our affection. We kept touching, we kept eye gazing, we clung to each other. The worse I got, the more we clung together. And so Heather never hinted that she wanted out. She stuck by me, and she nursed me right through to the end. And at the end, I thought was coming, because in May of 2018, my internal defibrillator that they'd put into me went off and saved my life. My heart rate had been 240 beats a minute right before that thing went off. Yeah, they say that's where the term drop dead comes from, because had I not had that in my body to shock me instantly, I would have been dead on the spot. And so,
well, yeah, I mean, you would be legally dead at the time. Yeah, that's when they pronounce
right.
you dead, and they have to make that difficult decision call to call your family. And I'm
Yeah,
glad you didn't go through that. Wow.
no. And so about 2 or 3 weeks later, I could just tell that I was fading fast, and I'd only been on the list 7 months. So the handwriting was on the wall. I was going to die before I got the heart. And there are a lot of people that are on that list that do die before a heart ever becomes available for them. And so I sat Heather down on June 19th of 2018 at 9 o'clock at night and told her, honey, I'm not going to be here in 2 to 3 months. We need to finish getting ready. We'd been to the mortuary once, and we had to go make final decisions. And of course, she's crying her eyes out, because I had just told her that her soulmate was leaving. And a half an hour after I told her that, we got the call there was a heart available. And and so we grabbed our little to-go bag like a pregnant couple keeps, and out the door we went. And we were having a huge eastern Colorado hailstorm, rainstorm that afternoon. It was like 100 miles wide. So the first 100 miles we were driving in that rain and hail, and the waterworks were going outside the car, and the waterworks were going inside the car, because she had switched from crying because she was sad to crying because she was excited and scared, because there was a 5% chance on that table. And so they'd given us till 1:30 in the morning to get there, and we slid into that parking lot at 1:15. So we just barely made it. And they rolled me into the OR at 4 o'clock in the morning. And by 9 o'clock the next morning, I had a 38-year-old heart in my 61-year-old body. And so they've basically given me another 20 plus years with my soulmate.
I mean, it seemed like I guess like a spiritual intervention going on there.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
you
hard
talk
to
about the
say there
weather
is no God.
patterns, and now,
Yeah.
well, I mean, whether you believe in the image, folks, or you believe in the actual spiritual connection, it's still somewhat of the same if you think about it, regardless of what your beliefs are. That you're talking about weather patterns on how it was basically miserable to now, I guess, positive in the long term. Your wife went from, oh shit, to like, happy and pleasant. That's
Yeah.
a miracle to even understand it. I mean,
Yeah.
you're going into, now, I guess like a disease that almost damn near killed you. So
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
living to tell the story of it.
Right.
This is crazy.
And
It's
again,
good. It's good in the long run. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And again, what's happened now is that type A personality has kicked in again. And I just, I feel so blessed they've given me another 20 years with my soulmate. And
Yeah.
so I was looking for a way to pay that blessing forward. And so three years after the transplant, my erectile dysfunction was getting worse. I was getting on towards 65, and Viagra had been amazing for me for 20 years at that point. And
okay. I was gonna say, no offense there, Gaylen. Usually when you get to that age, that's where it starts going into like, okay, we had our fun 40 years ago. Now it's time to, kind of settle down and live the rest of the remaining of our life.
Yeah, I refuse that. I refuse.
Refuse that. Good man. Good man. Hey, I might be in my 60s, 70s, or 80s, but I'm not going to go down without good sex every good night.
Yeah. That's why so I joined 2 Facebook groups for erectile dysfunction discussion. And I got so involved with them that within 3 months they made me administrator of the larger one. The guy that had started it 8 years previous was just done. He wanted out of it, and so I asked him if I could be a moderator, and he says, "No, you can own the group. Here, you're administrator now." And so then 3 months later, they made me administrator of the smaller group, and so I've administrated those 2 groups for over 5 years now. And
oh wow!
And so, yeah, and so one of the big frustrations was for me in helping, because I've helped thousands of men and women all over the world, especially in third world countries where the healthcare isn't great, or some countries it's just taboo to even talk to somebody about erectile dysfunction. These guys are afraid to even go to their doctor and tell them they've got a problem. And so the group gave them a safe place to come and talk about it. But one of my big frustrations is when a woman would come to the group, and over the 5 years, it's been hundreds of women came to the group and told almost the exact same story. Their man had developed ED, and he refused to go to the doctor and do anything about it. And so the way he had dealt with it was to just withdraw into himself, completely cut her off from any cuddling, kissing, affection, nothing. He didn't do anything to get her going. and he basically, anytime she would try to talk to him about it, he would lash out at her angrily and shut her down.
Oh shit. Wow.
Yeah. So, and originally I thought this was a character flaw. As you'll see in a little bit, I later found out that, like when I first lost my first erection at 44 years old, I was to the doctor that next week saying, I want that new little blue pill they're advertising. So I went into fight mode.
I want it now and give it to me now, damn it.
Yeah. So these guys, when they lost that first erection, their primal brain told them, dude, you're going to lose your woman. And so they went into flight mode. They went into withdrawal and to try to protect the bond, which was, probably the worst way to try to protect the bond. So I got Heather and I into a course to become certified thriving relationship coaches, just to try to crack that nut. Pardon the pun.
It sounded like you damn near crushed it there, Gaylen, but yeah, I get what you're saying, buddy. Shit, man, but that's kudos to you. For people your age that could still, rattle the horse more or less, that's awesome stuff. I mean, when I get to your age, if I live that long, which I hope I do, I can still have that same amount of energy and sexual desires when I was in my 20s, But again, like you talked about this tantric type of sexual practice. I've heard of tantral sexual desires. Is obviously when you get older, does it require more commitment when you practice this, rather if you were in your 30s, 40s, or maybe possibly middle-aged?
Well, sex definitely changes, and let me finish my story, and then we'll get back around to this question.
Yeah. I'm trying to follow you, but I'm interested to learn that. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The end of the story is going to tell you how you maintain this into your 70s and 80s. Because
Okay.
so I got Heather and I into a course to become certified thriving relationship coaches to try to figure out why these men were doing what they were doing. And the very first book we read was by Dr. Sue Johnson called Hold Me Tight. And in it, she talks about her attachment theory. And her attachment theory is that we were bred through thousands of years of prehistoric evolution to have an instinct for a strong attachment to our mates. And so those that didn't have it didn't survive, and their offspring didn't survive. And so it got brought forward into modern man as an instinct that's just as strong as our need for food or need for water. Now you're seeing how this ties back into my rational recovery learning. So it immediately.
I see. The pieces are coming together. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I instantly understood it. And so, but she went on to say that most of the fights that we get into are not about what we're fighting about, but about the fact that attachment instinct has detected a threat to the attachment and has thrown the body into fight or flight mode. And so you get both parties into fight or flight mode, the logical brain leaves the building and leaves what I call the lizard brains in control. And the lizard brains say nasty things to each other. They say things that are hard to take back. They basically see each other as the enemy of the bond, the enemy that's attacking. And so and if you stay in fight or flight long enough, it starts to do emotional system damage to the partners. And I always say that there's no sexual desire without emotional system safety, especially for women, but also for men. But so eventually, if a couple stays in that fight or flight often and they don't repair and they don't do the things to fix the damage, they just get further and further damaged to the point where you get 5 years out in a relationship and you have a couple that say they love each other, but there's absolutely no sex happening because they've just done so much damage to each other's emotional system safety that it won't let the body open up to desire. And so,
wow.
So Heather and I, being the type A that I am, I said, okay, how do we stop triggering each other's attachment instinct? And so the first thing I came up with was, well, we need to watch what tone we talk to each other in, because sometimes you talk to your loved one like they're the worst person on the planet. And you think you get away with it because they love you, but you really don't get away with it because you're triggering that attachment instinct. And so that's why
I've heard of being the alpha male in you. You're trying to you mean well, but you're trying to pretty much regain your supremacy more or less in the relationship.
Right.
Going back to the olden days when the caveman and the cave woman were, I am man, you are a woman.
Yes. Yeah. And so Heather and I gave each other permission to start calling each other out when we were using tone. Okay. And permission is so important in the monument method. You've got to become a team against those lizard brains. And and so Heather and I believe we're building this big, beautiful marble monument to our relationship. And each kind word or loving gesture, or especially when you make love with presence and eye gazing, you're building onto that monument. But each cruel word or cold shoulder or fight you get into is like taking a hammer and chisel to your monument. And so we decided we wanted to fiercely protect our monument. That's the Monument Method Institute motto, is fiercely protect the monument.
Yeah. Hold that thought, Gaylen. I want to touch on, how this was developed, because folks, if you're not well aware of who Gaylen Wilson is, he is the founder of this amazing institute called the Monument Method Institute. And we're going to get into that, guys, but I'm going to take my last break and then we're going to roll along with this, guys. Don't go anywhere because it's rather interesting. If you stayed this long, Thank you. If you haven't, I'm sorry. It's not always for everybody's cup of tea. But for those that have stuck around, thank you very much. We're going to get into this institute that Gaylen has instituted into society through, obviously, some of his practices, and now through these practices of the tantric sexual practices. Don't go. Alrighty, guys. Welcome back. We got Gaylen Wilson here. Literally, and maybe this is just my personal opinion, but I'm sure some of the listeners could, more or less agree. For those that have been listening to the show today, the program, I believe you, Gaylen, are literally the pioneer when it comes to life's problems. You've been through it all, you experienced it all, and you have an answer. You're not a quitter.
Yeah.
You just keep on pumping, full of positive energy. And I love it. So before we took a break, you gotten into this, I don't know if you want to call it a program or some kind of, practice of yours, personal practice that you're trying to enrich.
I call it a ritual.
Yeah, again, I'm sorry.
A ritual.
A ritual. Okay, so it's your ritual. You're trying to more or less use some of your experiences to motivate those that possibly are experiencing the same things that you've once experienced and possibly still experiencing. So tell us a little bit more of this. I want to save some time before we lose too much time about this institute of yours. How did you come up with it, and what motivated you to inspire this onto others?
Well, it just has come about. There's a line from an old Shakespeare play that says, "Some men are born into greatness, others have greatness thrust upon them." So I feel like I've done the next thing that was in front of me to do, and it just led me on this journey that I've been on.
Sure.
And the one thing about the monument method is it doesn't exist in modern relationship therapy. I've taken all the pieces that the other therapists, like Sue Johnson and the Gottmans, and have all had bits and pieces of this, and the missing link was the monument method. And because there's never been anything that was an emergency brake on the fights. That's been one of the biggest challenges for relationship therapists in the world, is trying to get couples to quit fighting. And so what we did was, remember I said that we wanted to fiercely protect our monument. So we decided to do that. Yeah. We had to make the monument more important than our egos, and more important than winning a fight. This is your alpha male stuff. You got to make yourself realize that you're not going to win.
I'm taking notes, Gaylen. I'm taking some notes. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not going to win that fight. So you might as well figure out a way to stay out of it. And so, our tone, catching each other using tone helped, because that calmed us down more. But we were still getting into the fights and getting into fight or flight mode. And so I said, okay, how do we stop getting into flight or fight altogether? How do we just, use the emergency brake? And so I came up with the idea, and this is what's so unique. And it's so silly, stupid. I don't understand why the big relationship therapy people haven't figured it out to this point. But what we did was we gave each other a sacred word, and ours is monument. And so when
you said a safe word,
a sacred word, but it's
okay. I do apologize. I'm listening to a safe word. Oh God, that's a safe word, folks.
Yeah, that's a previous lifetime.
Okay. So you've come up with a concept with the sacred word,
right? And so,
what is this sacred word?
Okay, so whenever either one of us sees the other one heading towards the monument with the hammer and chisel, in other words, we've said something that's going to start a fight. The other one calls monument, and it does two things. First of all, it reminds us that our monument is more important than that fight we're getting ready to get into. And then
Let me stop you right there.
okay.
So my listeners can understand a little bit more. Which one is the monument and which one is the chisel? Or does it
Well,
does it
the
does it
hammer,
matter or no?
the hammer and chisel is what
Is
you
it usually
use.
the man or the woman? Or yeah, that's what I'm trying to
Yeah, it can be either one of us. Either one of us can call monument. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, it's just that emergency brake on the fight. And so it reminds us that the monument is the relationship, is what, and so it reminds us that our monument's more important than the fight we're getting ready to get into. And then secondly, I called it a sacred word because we made a sacred vow that no matter how angry we were, the fight stopped right there. But then you don't separate and go away and try to calm down, because unless you've gotten full into fight or flight mode and things are starting to fly through the air, I mean, then you do need. But the idea is to pull this emergency brake before you ever get to that point. As soon as the fight starts to happen, you pull the emergency brake. And so we made a sacred vow.
What if you can't pull the emergency brake, though? What if you have so much rage? Okay. And these are good questions to ask, folks. I mean, even if you're, trying to understand his program a little bit more, what if you get into that full, because not everybody's the same person, obviously. What if you get into that full blown rage and you just said, you know what? I had enough of this shit. I'm walking away. That's it. I don't want to pull the damn brake, Gaylen. I don't want to pull the emergency brake. I don't want no damn sacred words. I don't even want a safe word to begin with. This man is driving me absolutely crazy. That's it. I'm walking away.
Yeah.
What happens then?
Well, the problem with that is generally in most relationships, and not all, but most relationships.
Can it be fixed by then? That's what I'm asking.
Well, yeah,
I don't know.
That's what this process ends up fixing, because if you, okay. So I didn't give you the payoff here, because once you
what's the payoff?
Once you call monument, you don't separate and go calm down, because if you do, you're going to come back. You're going to be right back where you were, right back into the fight. And so what we learned is, instead of separating, when one of us calls monument, we turn towards each other. We come together, we embrace each other's arms, and we gaze lovingly into each other's eyes and patch that little spot on the monument that we just chipped out. And the science behind that is that when you gaze into your lover's eyes, it goes into that primal brain and says, your attachment is safe. You can stand down. And so that's what happens.
This would be interesting, obviously, in today's society, where obviously the relationships that you see now in the 21st century is obviously so much different now. I mean, you talk about everything at historic highs, Gaylen, with the divorce rate at historic highs, constant, relationship swings. What I mean by the swings are people having affairs with one another. And I'm not just talking about the young ones, folks. I'm talking about people of Gaylen's age having full-blown affairs, obviously within the same era of the age bracket, or sometimes younger men. So this may try to help our society now go back to the golden age of how relationships used to be. I mean, people were a hell of a lot pleasant back then than they are now.
Yes.
Do you see that as a challenge, especially in your aspect of creating this institute?
Right.
Do you see that as a challenge, trying to bring people back together?
I've actually written a 4-book dating series called my Ready series.
I see your books. You have many books on Amazon that covers this.
And,
guys, check it out on Amazon. The Doctor of Love is here to help you.
Okay. So again, back to the monument method. Once you start practicing this, and it does take practice, because we are wired to fight as human beings. And so it takes self-control and practice. But as you practice it, all of a sudden, the little fights go away completely, because as soon as one of you says something that would have started a little fight, the other one's going, wait a minute, our monument, and you're coming together and patching it. You're stopping it before there's any damage done. I always say the best repairs are the ones you don't have to make. And so,
At
but
least you have to try to get to that point, though, Gaylen. I mean, with all respect, I
right,
mean, it's hard for
it
people to get
it
to that
does
point.
make,
Like, whoa, whoa,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Because I talked to one young woman on one of my podcasts that she said, I don't know if I can gaze into his eyes, because there's so much damage that's happened that,
Yeah.
that's how I can tell if Heather's mad at me, is when I go to gaze into her eyes, she kind of averts her eyes.
Well, that's the part where you have to try to avoid the
Yeah,
toxicity to get to the
right,
positivity. Yes,
right,
yes, yes.
right. And so,
Yeah.
but even now, even the fights that we used to be mad at each other for a day and a half for are over in 5 or 10 minutes,
Mhm.
because one of us is going, wait a minute, what are we doing to our monument? And coming back and repairing and strengthening the bond. And so as you practice this, and get good at it, you're constantly just repairing. It starts healing all that emotional system damage. Uh, and so you
Mm.
remember a while ago I said that there's no sexual desire without emotional system safety. So as you do this, you can eventually get to the point that where your partner is your nervous system's safest place. And when that happens, that desire can blossom back into a relationship, even a decades old relationship. And
Mm.
and so that's what we
Interesting
call the
stuff.
monument
Yeah.
method. And then
Yeah.
maybe for another episode, we've also come up with what I call the sanctuary bond, which is the second book in the series. There's the monument method and monument method 2, the sanctuary bond, that teaches a couple how to make that relationship a refuge from all the crazy in the world. Because I think that's
Wow.
what we all really want, is a relationship that is a refuge instead of another battlefield that we've got to manage.
It's the constant battle I keep on telling everybody, Galen. I mean,
Hmm.
not just because of relationships. I'm just talking about just
Hmm.
basic communication, because you have to have communication skills, folks, before you even
Hmm.
get into the relationship. And that's why we're seeing so much relationships fail today, Galen. I'm sure you
Hmm.
can agree as we kind of close up. Uh, you know, bef- back in the day, you can have that spark of interest, I mean, simply at a
Hmm.
park. I mean, or
Right.
anywhere. I mean, now just to get that spark is very, very, very rare. Okay.
Hmm.
And it's about the key principles: communication, obviously, attraction, whether it's sexual attraction or actual physical attraction.
Hmm.
And a lot of people lack that because they've lost that way of socializing with one
Hmm.
another.
Right.
And I mean, does your program teach about social skills and how to communicate within that aspect?
Well,
Or
yeah, it does. Especially like my Ready series. I've got the Monument Man and Monument Woman for older adults that have been in a failed
okay,
relationship, and then uh, Man Before the Monument and Woman Before the Monument for the 16 to 25-year-old crowd, because their dating world is really a mess. and
mhm.
and so uh, and these books teach, uh, you know everything's a mess because our society has taught us that a relationship should be built on chemistry, that chemistry is the most important thing. And so that's why you see that the average romance phase for a couple is 6 months to 2 years. And so that's why you see
Yeah,
so many relationships ending in 6 months to 2 years, because they built that on that chemistry that they originally had without building any structure underneath it. And that's where the monument method and
yeah,
the sanctuary bond teach these couples how to build that structure. So
yeah.
in the books, I wrote them in such a way that by the time the reader gets to the end, they're going, "This is great. Where do I find somebody to build a monument with?" And so I've created the monument method, or monument validated person, MVP. And it's a dating site that's an anti-hookup dating site.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. You said dating site.
Yes.
It's not your typical like matchmaker.com
No. No.
or whatever the hell. There's so many others out
Right.
there.
Right.
You cover the right method of dating, and
Right.
that's
You
great.
have to
That's
you
great.
have to have read one of the books and pass a quiz on the principles in the books before you can even get into the site. And then you've got to vow that you're there to build a monument with somebody, not for casual dating. Casual dating.
Wow, Gaylen, I don't even think eHarmony can cover that. So
no.
I think you're a first.
Yeah, and the thing is, because of my heart transplant pay it forward, I'm making that free forever. I'm never going to charge for it.
Wow. You hear that, folks?
Yeah.
You heard it.
And in fact, right now, if you go to monumentmethodinstitute.com and click on the MVP button and go to that page and scroll to the bottom, you can download those 4 books free.
Oh, wow.
And so
see
you
that,
can
folks?
read
We
the
just
book.
put it up. We got to put it in the graphic here. Yeah, you just scan it right there. There's a QR code in the graphic, and we'll, you go right to that. All the information will be right there. That's awesome stuff there. Really good stuff. Well, Gaylen, I mean, I feel like I could talk to you for about another hour or two, but I do have to close out.
Anytime, my friend.
Yeah, I do have to close out, guys. But obviously, guys, if you're more interested in learning more of what Gaylen Wilson does here with his institute and learning more about him, guys, head over to www.monumentmethodinstitute.com. Again, guys, www.monumentmethodinstitute.com. Okay. It gives a simple place to learn more about relationship principles discussed in a lot of what he discussed, Mr. Wilson here on the program, including his books, guys. If you're interested in learning more about his books, head over to Amazon. You can check out his author page on Amazon at Gaylen Wilson. All of his books can be available there for purchase. And speaking about books, real quick, Gaylen, if you can, do you have any other books in the near future that you want to basically announce here for a pre-launch? Or
well, I just the Ready series was just launched recently. I do have a domestic violence pair of books that, again, I'm giving away. Basically, Amazon will only let me put them on their site if I charge 99 cents for them in Kindle. But they have boiled the monument method down for both the victim and the aggressor in domestic violence situations. They're called the turn and the break. And and so those are basically free on the site. Because I make like 30 cents.
Yeah, that's very low. I have some books myself on Amazon, and it's I feel the pain with you, my friend. But it's been a pleasure, learning more about you, your amazing institute that you've come up with to not only teach but to motivate people to live a healthier, happier life, both within themselves and obviously if they're in a relationship. Okay. So I do want to thank you again, guys. If you want to head over to his website there, monumentmethodinstitute.com. Again, guys, amazing concept where, he shares most of his experience and teaches people, hey, it's not the end of the world. We can get through this together, meaning you and your spouse or your significant other or your husband or whatever the case may be. Gaylen, I want to say thank you very much, sir, and keep on doing what you're doing. I wish there was more people out there. I'm sure there is, but I wish there was people out there that has that attitude where, you know what, you can dodge everything or you can throw everything at me, but I'll get right through it. And I'll come right back up. Thank you very much, sir. And if you want to plug anything, the floor is yours, sir. Less than a minute if you can, sir.
My erectile dysfunction trilogy. I've rebuilt for his eyes only. That teaches him the ED ladder of the treatment. It teaches him how to recover the relationship, because ED is just hell on a relationship. And
and
it
Gaylen, you might have some of my older listeners really paying attention to this one segment here of the show. So.
Yeah. And then the third thing, it challenges these men to become master lovers, because I can't tell you how many women told me my man became a much better lover man became a much better lover after he developed ED, because all of a sudden he's paying attention to me and paying attention to my needs and isn't trying to perform. And so then the second.
This has been a Truth Productions media episode. Thank you for listening.
One of the main things that happens the first thing that goes through her head is, it's me. It's got to be me. He's not attracted to me anymore. Or the second one that follows shortly thereafter is, he's having an affair, so he doesn't want me anymore. And usually those are, neither one of those are true. I can't tell you how many men came into the group saying, I love my wife, I want my wife, I just can't get Mr. Happy to cooperate. And so that book actually uses the monument method to teach her how to get that guy that's been withdrawal back out of withdrawal with non-sexual touching, eye gazing, making his nervous system stand down. And come back to her.
Okay, my friend. Well, check him out, guys. He's got a lot of services to provide. Books, the website there at monumentmethodinstitute.com. Guys, your love life, if it's in the shackles, check out some of his practices. It might save your life. Gaylen, thank you very much. And wow, amazing stuff. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you very much. Take it easy, buddy.
Thank you so much for having me.
All righty. So, I mean, we just heard from Gaylen Wilson, guys. Tremendous advocate towards of what he practices and what he's trying to motivate to the general public. Guys, thanks very much for stopping by. Again, guys, we are available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, Audible, Amazon Music. The list goes on, guys, including our video platforms at Rumble, YouTube, some short snippets on X, including Facebook, with our friends over there at Daily Motion in France. Appreciate you guys. And if you're interested, guys, leave a follow, leave a review, give us something. Let us know that you're listening in. Don't be a stranger, guys. And until next time, guys, we'll see you on Thursday and then including the weekend, guys. We are available Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Till next time, guys, take it easy.
This has been a Truth Productions media episode. Thank you for listening.